well. So remember that we're kind of in this big unit of geometry. We've looked at angles, we've done some stuff with volume. This week we're going to focus on surface area. So I'm going to take you over to Canvas. On Canvas today, make sure that you are clicking on the attendance link and checking in your attendance. That has to be done by noon. We go down to the e-learning module, and you can see that we're live. We're going to do a new lesson that's titled 7.5 Day 1, Surface Area and Nets. I'd like you to take notes in your notebook today to the best of your ability, and there will be 2 Khan Academy lessons that I will assign once the lesson's over today. Anybody have any questions? Anything from last week maybe that you don't think got wrapped up or anything like that? Nope, I want to be here. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Remember, again, I can't see anything in that background on that chat till I get out of this PowerPoint, so if someone has a question, we got to stop, ask the question, or if you need me to slow down. Again, today is 7.5 Day 1. We're going to split this surface area into 2 days, and we're going to talk about surface area and something called a net of a rectangular prism. It's my belief that you were first introduced to nets last year, if that was a topic your 6th grade teachers taught. I think surface area was maybe sooner than that, but the concept of a net might not have been till 6th grade, maybe 5th grade. I found it in the 6th grade Khan Academy stuff, which is what makes me think that that's when you first see it. Okay, so let's look at a couple definitions. The first definition today is surface area, and it's literally exactly what it sounds like. It's the area of the surfaces. So if you think about a 3-dimensional figure and that its sides or faces are actually 2-dimensional shapes, the rectangular prism is the one we're going to focus on, where all of those sides or faces are rectangles, but surface area is the sum, so we are adding all of the areas of the surfaces of a figure. So we're adding them all up. A net is the surfaces from a 3-dimensional figure laid out flat. So if I go back real quick, I know some of you are writing, but I'll go back real quick to this image. Here we have our 3-dimensional rectangular prism, and this is the net of that prism laid out flat. It'd be like if you took a box and broke it down, so maybe it would fit in your trash can better, but you laid out all those sides. Another concept behind surface area that maybe you've heard teachers say is maybe something like how much wrapping paper would cover the 3-dimensional shape without any overlap. So if you think about covering a shape with a blanket, a towel, wrapping paper, but not having any overlap, that's the surface area. And we're going to calculate it today looking at nets. So we're going to be drawing some nets. And then tomorrow we're going to talk about a formula. So when we look at surface area of a rectangular prism, again, the surface area of a rectangular prism is found by adding the areas of each of the 6 faces. So remember, in a rectangular prism, there's a front and a back. In this image, it's the yellow would be the front, and then there would also be yellow in the back. And we color code because the dimensions of this yellow front face would be identical to the yellow back face that you can't see back there. We have this light blue top that would also have an identical light blue bottom. We have the red on the right, and we would also have the red on the left, tucked here in the back where you can't see as well. Because it's area, we do have to switch our units back to squared units. So feet squared, inches squared, units squared. It is area, which is 2-dimensional, right? We're taking the 2-dimensional measurements of this front face, and we're going to do that 6 times and add them all together. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go on. You didn't really have to write any of this down. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. Also, remember, you can always go back and watch the video if there's something you want to hear again or see again. I know it's a lot different than class where someone can just say, hey, I don't get this. But you're still welcome to do that and say that here as well. So first we're going to look at an example where we're asked to find the surface area of the prism formed by the net, and we don't have a grid. We're going to look at some grids after this that make a surface area a little bit simpler. But when you have a net for a rectangular prism laid out, remember that there are going to be 3 sets of 2 identical faces. So you can see that here in the 2 black rectangles, the 2 dark gray rectangles, and the 2 light gray rectangles. You're also going to notice some dimensions written on there. We don't write them everywhere. We just write them in some spots, but it's enough for you to figure out the dimensions of each of those rectangles separately. And that's what we're going to do today. You're going to kind of see us build the surface area for this shape by calculating the black rectangles, the dark gray, and then the light gray. What's nice also about surface area of a rectangular prism is that they're because they come in sets, you only really have to do the black rectangle once, the dark gray once, and the light gray once, and then we know we can double that or add it to itself because there are 2 of them. So we're going to start with these black rectangles. You can see over here on the right that this black rectangle is actually labeled. It is a 12 by 6. So if I'm going to find the area of that black rectangle, I'm going to multiply 12 times 6 and get 72. And there are 2 of them. So here you could do something like 72 times 2, or you could show it again because there are 2 of them. So we have 2 72s. And I'm going to worry about my units all the way at the end. They would be inches squared here, though. Now we have the dark gray rectangles. And you can see this top dark gray rectangle, we've got this side labeled as 12, but there's nothing labeled across the top. So now we kind of have to look through the picture. And we're looking down here to the bottom, and we can see, oh, this length here is actually 8 inches. That would be true moving all the way up the figure. Excuse me. So this up here would also be 8 inches. So for the dark gray rectangle, we have an 8 by 12. Remember, you could also do 12 by 8. That doesn't matter. And there are 2 of them. There's one here, and there's one here. So another 8 by 12, that's 96. And now we have the light gray. That's the one in the middle. You can see this one in the middle is not labeled anywhere. Now you can look around the figure, or we can move down here and see that it is labeled in both spots. This is a 6 by 8. If I looked here and I was trying to find this dimension here, you can see it's labeled out all the way to the right. If that is 6 inches, then this one in here is 6 inches. Similar with that 8, if the one down here all the way at the bottom is labeled 8 inches, then both of these would also be 8 inches. So we have an 8 by 6 or 6 by 8, however you want to say it. So that's 48 and 48. So now we've figured the area of each of the rectangles that make up the rectangular prism off of the net. And so I'm going to grab my calculator here, and we're going to add all of this together. 96 plus 96 plus 72 plus 72 plus 48 plus 48. And does anybody have it? Anybody do it already? Can't remember if you're typing, I can't see.
How are you today? I got it, Mrs. Herbst.
What is it?
420.
That's not what I got.
What did I do wrong?
I don't know. I got 432.
Oh, I see what I did wrong. Okay.
432 were inches here, not units. Inches squared. So that's how you calculate surface area when you have the net laid out and we've got all the dimensions here. Now we're going to look at a few examples where we're actually drawing the nets. Given the rectangular prism, we're going to lay it out and draw it. I want you to pay attention to kind of how this one is drawn. This is typically how I'm going to draw all of them. See how it looks like the letter T, and you have 4 faces lined up vertically, and then you have these 2 kind of wings or these side rectangles on the outside. So that's how you'll see me do this. As I draw these. You're welcome to draw them differently, but in my opinion, it's easiest if we do it the same way all the time. Okay, so here we go. Draw and label the dimensions of the net to the right, there we go, of the right rectangular prism shown, then find the surface area. So you can see I've got a grid here. I know you probably don't have graph paper at home, so just as long as you're trying to, draw it to the best of your ability, and then make sure you're labeling, and we're going to find the surface area that way. I'm going to do some color coding as well. So I'm going to call this the top, I'm going to call this the front, and this is the right side. So I'm going to do top, front, right side, in those colors so you can kind of see where that comes from. So we're going to start with this top. We need to find the dimensions of the top. It is a 4 by 1. Notice where that 1 comes from. It comes from down here on the bottom, this kind of width, but it's also a 1 here. So I'm going to draw a 4 by 1. That means I'm going to go 4 across and 1 down. Now I'm going to move, when you're drawing your first one of these, you kind of want to move like clockwise or counterclockwise around this figure. So if I start with the top, now I'm going to move down to the front, and this is that purple face that is a 4 by 2. Notice this is too tall, so it's a 4 by 2. You also want these to line up, so it wouldn't make any sense to draw it like this. Okay, that didn't line up. I can't, when I fold that up, that's not going to work for my rectangular prism. So I want to go 4 across, and then I want to come 2 down, like so. So there's the 4 by 2. As we work our way around this rectangular prism, the green side is going to repeat. It's also the bottom. So now I want to go 4 across and 1 down, like we did at the beginning. And then that purple face is going to repeat again as well. It's in the back. It is a 4 by 2 again. So there's the top, the front, the bottom, and the back all lined up vertically. And now I'm going to put those 2 side pieces, I'm going to switch to red, and I'm going to put those off of the second rectangle. I always like to do it off the second one. So it's kind of like, imagine maybe this being like a door handle, and here's the door hinge right here. So imagine that door like opening up, right? It opens up flat, and it would kind of come out here like this. Wow, that was pretty good right there. Can you see that visually? So it's going to come off of that side. It's going to be a 2 by 1. So I need to go 2 down and 1 across. And I'm going to do that on both sides. Remember, there's that front right side, or the right side, and then there's also the left side. It did ask us to label the dimensions so that it can help us calculate. So remember, we've got 4 running all the way through here. We're going to label this side as 2, and that takes care of those 2's all the way across horizontally. You can label lots of places. Some students like to label everywhere. This is, I'm going to label on the inside a little bit though, so I don't get too confused. Those are both 1's. Let's see, that's 4 all the way down. We've got 2 down here. You want to put a 4 down there. But basically just enough that you can find all of the dimensions. Also, what's nice about having it on this grid is that I could actually just count the squares that it covers to find the area. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. So I know that the surface area of that rectangular prism is 28 units squared. Or if we're going to look at calculating surface area, if we do green, so the area of the greens would be a 4 by 1, so that would be 4, and there are 2 of them, so another 4 by 1. If I do the purple is a 2 by 4, so that's 8, and there are 2 of those. And then finally the red is a 2 by 1, or 1 by 2. Remember, order doesn't matter here as much. And now if we add all that together, 4 plus 4 plus 8 plus 8 plus 2 plus 2 gives us a surface area, oops, I'm going to change back to black, a surface area of 28 units squared. So any questions on that one? That's our first attempt at drawing a net. we were asked to label that, so make sure that you did get some labels on it. You're welcome to label all the dimensions if you want to, but that's up to you. I think I've got enough on there to tell. Okay, let's move on. This one says, draw and label the dimensions of the net of the cube shown, and then find the surface area. So again, it's a rectangular prism. It has 6 faces. We're going to draw 4 vertically, and then the 2 sides off, two off the side, 2 rectangles off the side. So when I look at this shape, I'm a little confused. I've only got 1 dimension here. Can anybody tell me why I only have 1 dimension?
It's a square, so all the sides are equal.
Yeah, all the dimensions, it's a cube, so all the dimensions are the same. So a 4, this is 4, that's 4, that's the length, the height, and the width. That's all you would really have to label. You could go around and label some more, but this one's going to be super easy because every face is identical, which means I have 6 4x4 squares that make up this cube. So if I start drawing 4 across, 4 down, I'm going to go 4 across and 4 down. And then I also need these side pieces. They look like they're maybe pink and orange. They kind of flap off the side here. And I always like to draw them on that second rectangle. So again, we have 4x4. You're asked to label the dimension, so I'm going to start up here. I'm going to label that takes care of all of those 4s there. Here's a 4 and a 4. That takes care of those sides here. There's a 4 there. Some students will come down here and label these anyway, just so that we're sure. But now we know that because they're all squares and there are 6 of them, we can just calculate the area of one of them, and then what can we do to that number? Anybody know or want to share?
Multiply by 6.
Good. Okay, so 4 times 4 is 16. That means all of these have an area of 16 units squared, and there are 6 of them. So the surface area would be 6 times 16, and that is 96 units squared. Now, you could also count all of those boxes, but I don't really want to do that today, so we're taking some shortcuts. And again, we're going to talk tomorrow about a formula that maybe will even make it a little bit faster. And the formula is nice for students who struggle with nets, because I know that visually it's hard to kind of imagine what the heck are we doing to this box to open it up and make it look like that when we lay it down. Hey, Leo. What? Okay. Okay, so let's go on and do one more example. Again, drawing and labeling the dimensions of the net of this right rectangular prism. Some of these examples we've thrown that word right in there, so I just want to share with you what that means. The word right there just means that this prism, these prisms all have right angles in their corners. That's all that means. It's not slanted in any way. So draw and label the dimensions, and then find the surface area. So I want to actually give you a minute and see if you can draw this one out yourself. Remember before how I started in that first net example of top, front, and side? So if you want to start like that, go ahead, but I'll give you a minute, and then we'll check with my answer. Okay, so I know that wasn't a ton of time, but let's see how you did, or at least got it started. So that top rectangle in green is a 6 by 3, right? We've got 3 labeled down here, which means up here this is also 3. We see a 6 labeled here, which means it's 6 across. So we're going to go 6 across. Whoops, I think I went 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoop, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I did. And we're going to go 3 down. So there's 6 by 3. Then we're going to move counterclockwise to this front face in purple, and that is a 6 by 2. Again, we want those 6s to line up. We want those 6s to line up, so you don't want to turn it and draw it so it doesn't match up. Now we're going to do those same 2 pieces exactly again, a 6 by 3, and then another 6 by 2. And then we have those red sides. We've got one on the right and one on the left, and I typically draw them off of this second rectangle. You can draw them off the green. You can draw them off of any of those, but again, it's kind of like imagining if this was a door and you're opening the door. Let's see if I can do that again. Yeah, it kind of looks like that. So it would be off of the side of that purple. It would be 3 units across and 2 units down. So we're going to go 3 across and 2 down. And there we go. There's our rectangular prism drawn, the net of our rectangular prism drawn. So we've got 6, these are 2, this is 3, and really that's enough to kind of label you, to label. If you can envision folding that back up, then you would realize, you know, that this side here is 3, this side down here is 3. So you decide what's easiest for you. Is it easiest for you now to just go through and count all those boxes? Is it easier for you to just calculate the area by doing length times width? In my opinion, it's a little bit easier on a bigger one like this to just calculate the area. So 6 times 3 would be 18. We also have 18 down here. Our purple rectangles are 6 by 2, so that's 12. And our red rectangles are 2 by 3, which is 6. So the surface area, if we add all of those up, 6 plus 6 plus 18 plus 18 plus 12 plus 12, what does someone get? Anyone? Remember, I can't see if you're typing. Unmute yourself.
72?
Yeah, got it. Good. Good job, Nathan. So 72 units squared. So the Khan Academy that I've assigned, obviously it's hard to kind of assign a task to you of drawing nets, but the first Khan Academy assignment, I think it shows a net and then asks you what shape would that be if you folded it up. So that's kind of a cool one, right? Having to visualize that in your head. And then the other one gives you the net and asks you to find the surface area. I haven't. I've been in here for an hour and a half. Okay, so we're going to go on, look at Khan Academy then for your homework. You have 2 of them, surface area using nets and find surface area by adding areas of faces. I'm going to go ahead and minimize that, see how we're doing in our chat. Anybody have any questions? Who'd I lose today? Dallas, Parker, how's it going? You guys are in here every day, but you don't say a whole lot. Are you paying attention? See if they're paying attention. Oh, Dallas is paying attention. Nice. Good deal. Okay, so if you're working today and you have questions, remember with Khan Academy, the easiest thing to do is to take a screenshot and send it to me. I'll be around all day. But if there aren't any other questions, then I will see you tomorrow. Sound good? Peace.